All right, guys, welcome back. It's time to talk a little bit about what these transfers were like and what it is that we did. So you've seen a little bit of what the squad looks like. I mean, just look at the nationality here. This is a very, very different looking squad than the one that we had before, with players from all sorts of nationalities, including 2 from Mongolia. Let's see, where are we here? There's a player from Macau. We have a whole bunch of players from Samoa. This is Somalia, Cook Islands, Tonga. We have 3 players there from Brunei, right? Yep, from Brunei. And 2 from Taiwan. And we have 2 players from Timor-Leste, of all places. And we do have our sole Cambodian player, who is now suspended. We have a whole bunch of different players from different places in the world, mostly players from places that are not quite that well known. And that's sort of the way that we like it, right? We want to, try to get as many different and varied types of players as we possibly can, and especially we want to see players that are as good as we can make them. If we look over here at the personality we have of the squad, first of all, you'll see we've got guys who are professional, perfectionist. Milo Kalliope is probably not a good enough player to actually play for this team. Yeah, may not have the required ability or potential. I agree with that. He hasn't played very well for us, but he has a great personality, which means he's worth holding on to. What was he like last year? He had a 7 rating last year. He's probably not going to play at all this season, but good personality. So Stara is professional, and we're going to be looking for a lot more players who are like that. You'll see we don't have a whole bunch of guys with bad personalities. Xu Shengqie is fickle, which is sort of meh. And then Peyton Milani, of course, the one I worry about is unambitious. Milani probably won't be on this squad for too much longer anyway, right? We're going to keep looking around. The question you probably have is, how in the world did I do this? What did I do? How did I go about doing this? Well, what I did is I went up here and I looked at some place like, I don't know, Samoa, if I can spell it correctly. So you type up Samoa. Remember, we're in American Samoa. And, here we go. So you scroll down, you find the country, and then you go over and look at the national teams. And you can go through the guys one by one. One of the things I like to do is sort by contract type and just sort of look at some of these guys. You can see some of these, like Dilo Tumua has a flag by his name. And I wrote that he's inconsistent, right? So he's an inconsistent player. Some of these players I flagged, some of them I didn't. Some of them wouldn't come over to us. If we were looking for, like another striker, we can go talk to Betham and see if he would sign with us. Nope, he won't. This is the way that I did it. You just go through little by little, and I went through with every single player. Usually on the under 23s and below is where you can find them. And especially usually guys who are like 18 or so, that's where you'll get guys who will be a little bit more willing to talk with you. It doesn't always work, but if you do this and you go through a lot of players, you actually can make it work. You can make it so that you get a whole bunch of guys coming over, and then once they come over, then you can look at them. The other thing you can always do, of course, is you can have them come over and you can be like, will you come over for a trial? So we can look at offering a trial there to Fatu and see what happens. Chances are pretty good that his club will not allow him to come over. I'm not sure who he's even playing for. Mwala. So, chances are pretty good they won't allow him to come over. But there's the reason why the way that this works, the way that this really works for amateur players is you want to look for players who are with clubs that have a reputation like around where yours is or a little bit below. That's really the thing that you're looking for. And for us, you're not going to find a whole bunch below. That's one of the reasons why in our squad we have players from these countries that you've probably never played with, like Timor-Leste, Somalia, Macau, places like that. That doesn't mean, though, that the players are bad by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, guys like Marcelino Silva, since I'm looking at him, is very exciting, very consistent, seems to be a leading player for us, and, is actually really good. We go over here and we take a look at the transfers. So you can see there were a bunch of guys that were going for Tuala Lele, for Kalliope, for Milani. Those guys decided to stay. We didn't have many go up, but we did... I'm sorry, we have to go over to transfer history. There we go. We didn't have too many go up, but we did have some names that are somewhat familiar. So, Ione Loke went out. Notice that this transfers out does not include guys that you ended up just releasing. These are only players that were signed out basically from under you. Toa Maile did go out in the end. Yeah, the fans like this player. It's a really sad thing that he decided to leave us. And has he played at all? He played once and scored a goal on his debut, so with Black Roses. So we will see Maile, I think, here pretty soon, actually. If I remember the schedule right, we will see him not tomorrow, but the day after. But it is kind of bittersweet to see that happen. That's just sort of what happens, though. We had only a couple of guys go out, and we brought in a whole tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of players. And then I went through them literally one by one, and if there was anything wrong with them, I got rid of them. So you look at a guy like, I don't know, these guys won't want to come over now because they came all the way over here and then they left, right? They're going to say, yeah, we'd prefer not to play for PanSa because they're really upset with me. So for a guy like, I don't know, Kim Seung-hyung, first thing I would do when he came in is I would take a look and see, okay, does he have any of the big cons? The cons I'm looking out for are, is he inconsistent? If he's inconsistent, that's the first one, then he's gone. He's a goner. Second one is he injury prone, right? So consistency you can do something about, but it takes a long time. I'm not going to spend, all sorts of time like giving a guy like fifth and sixth chances when he's inconsistent and he's not doing the same thing from game to game, right? I want to have guys who are going to be able to win and will play good for us every single match, right? Injury prone is something you can do very little about. Sometimes you can spend extra money for a specialist. We can't because we decided to upgrade our training facilities, so we have like no money, right? So that's out of the question, right? We had to upgrade training facilities and we had to pay taxes, which is why we lost so much money this season, right? So that's not going to happen either, right? The other thing that we look out for in these players is a dislike of big matches. And so we know right now that we do have a player who dislikes big matches, Jermaine Sione. Now, when I come across that, I will create a note, which creates this little flag. That way I can tell him on just about every screen. I can be like, yeah, but that's the guy who doesn't like big matches. And so I'm not tempted to like bring the guy on or do anything like crazy like that because I know already, oh yeah, that's right, this guy has this problem. Dislike of big matches, I think, is contradictory with being very consistent. But basically what it means is that if the opposition is good enough, Sione won't show up. That's why I didn't play him in the last match, because I knew that if I started him, he would end up not doing anything. I might as well start a player who is technically worse because, he'll actually give me a performance. Sione won't, right? That's the whole logic behind it. Those are the three main things that we look for. And then afterwards, when all is said and done, then we go look at the personality. So you'll wind up with a whole list of players. I had a really, really big list. Let's see if I can show you on my screen. There we go. I had a big list that I have, Lee Ji-sung, we take him off because he was very inconsistent, North Korean goaltender who unfortunately will not be on our team. I put a few nationalities in here. It doesn't really matter. And then Maile, we have to take him off as well. I put these guys here basically in the order of where we likely will have them play and at which position and so on and so forth. Beforehand, this was like an absolutely monstrous list. If you look over the squad planner, this was like, I don't know, even now there's like a bajillion of these players. It's like Maile here, he's on the under 18s, he doesn't really count. And then some of these guys like Silva is a midfielder. He's not going to play there. You can go through and make a couple changes. This guy, Xiaoxi Matafa, probably will end up playing on one of the sides, so we could take him off too if we wanted to. I don't know exactly what it is that I've done. But basically what I did is I got into this screen, and there would be like 25 guys. So there'd be like, 25 strikers. And then I would go through the ones that are down further on the list and see, is there anything that's going to make me kick them off? There were some strikers who we had and other players who were good, but they had really, really poor personalities, stuff like Slack, And when you compare that with a guy who might be like fairly professional or something, again, I'd rather go for the guy who has a slightly better personality. In the ideal world, we would have a whole bunch of players who come on who have like professional or perfectionist type personalities, fairly professional and all that stuff, and it would help the squad out. But we would also want to make sure that they're consistent and that they are not injury prone and that basically they don't have any of these really big problems that are really, really difficult to fix. They don't have the big matches problem and stuff. If you look around on the internet, you'll find all sorts of people saying, how do I fix consistency in this game? Honestly, the best way to do it is to just get rid of the player. He's probably not that good, and you probably have somebody who's better. So anyway, that's kind of what the theory is behind this. Now, we don't have any goalkeepers in this squad. We do have other players in the under-18 squad, and some of these guys are ineligible. They're not really on this squad. Is Lonkilde actually on this squad? He is, and he's not going to sniff, I think, the senior team, right? Casual personality is not good, so we will release him on a free. And you have to go through every now and then and look at this guy. So Numotu Toa, for example, what is his personality? Volatile temperament, yeah, you're gone. Yeah. You'll notice here that most of the players who are down here are actually American Samoan players. So there's a reason for that, right? There are a lot of these guys where you bring them along and you're like, this guy might have it. This guy's got a good personality, right? Is he any good? He is pretty good. All right, so see, Collins doesn't have any of those big red flags, and so what we can do is we can put him up to the senior squad. The problem that we have right now, though, is that there's no possible way for me to register him, and the reason why we can't register him is because squad registration is done. Now, you do have to look at these guys and like make sure. So, like Sione, of course, he is not on the under-18 squad. He's just available for them if they need him. Anyway, that's kind of what we've done here. We can like sort this by personality as well. I mean, these guys with these really, really poor personalities, I could probably just release if I wanted to, because I'm not going to bring them up in the end, right? And then I've gone through already and made sure so none of these players have the big inconsistency or anything else like that going on, you know. Boneta Toa is probably the striker we're going to bring up next once we get rid of Sione. We have to wait first, right? So we'll look at the... I don't know, the schedule or something here. Where's there's the calendar. Probably have to wait until the transfer window opens, which is usually November. There it is, November 23rd. By the time we finally get to that point, we will likely get rid of Sione, and we'll just put Toa up on the senior squad, see how he does. He'll be like 17. It'll be fine. It'll be fun. It'll be interesting to see. We want to do that, though, because he's got a good personality, good way of going about things, and I think he's made some progress. Yeah, I mean, it's been all right, a little bit on, a little bit off. Remember, all of this is off season. So, he has the potential, though, and I'd rather have a guy with potential than play a guy who I know has a really big problem that won't let him forward. Anyway, there you go. That's sort of my hiring philosophy and the way that I've gone about these transfers, and it's been a crazy, crazy save so far, and it's going to get crazier. Talk to you later. Bye.